All right, so today is April the 10th, 2022, and this is our Western Desiderata meeting, I believe 104. So our today's topic, looks, we didn't have a topic, but the topic of survival came up. And I think survival can have different aspects to it, surviving mentally, physically, uh, emotionally, spiritually. So I think this is a good one. Let's see. I think with the meetings we've had and when Hugh was with us, he stressed, I think, from his point of view, the most important or the one that should be given a lot of attention should be the mental, surviving mentally, because that's it's kind of we can't survive mentally. Everything else seems to fall apart, right? That's what I keep getting. Because we can do all the physical preparation and bunkering and getting supplies, but if we're not able to mentally adapt or survive to the situation, yeah, people fall apart. People can commit suicide. So, yeah, I think that's something that I've always been thinking about us. Mental fortitude. It's been said in the past. But any thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, I agree. When I think of mental um, preparation, it encompasses both, like the psyche and actually just kind of being kind of you know what, Lord, you shared with us was that we need to be in a way flexible and adaptable, because I do have a tendency to dig my heels in and take a stand against something. But he would always try to guide us so that w- we are not stuck with dogma. In fact, when he said that when he did the Darwin series, it didn't really matter to him whether Darwin was correct or not. um, but it was just the absolute certainty of people about certain things. So I don't know if I'm capturing that correctly, but that was also one thing about the jab. He was saying that okay, one can resist it, but when the time comes and one has to survive, then he would always he would make a comparison that we need to be wily as foxes, or maybe even like I don't know what adjective would describe a rat that we have to be not stuck to, just a principle or a label, just for the sake of that. So those are the things that I'm trying to think about, like being stuck to accepting that my way of life now, um, can change, is changing, and there is really no use to being attached to it. In fact, we were always, well, not all, I wouldn't use always a lot, but we were discussing how um, w- we need to accept in a way, not passively, but just in the sense of, we were saying, why don't we give it up now or collapse now and do it early ahead of time? Like, accept that everything we have could be taken, could change, so that, in our heads, we know that, um, say, going back to a new normal, or going back to the way things were, is not possible. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but those are the things that I see, with mental and psychological preparation, not being stuck.
Yeah, I think you're capturing it right. A collapse early, and lately I've just been just observing things and trying to compare what Hugh said before and what's happening now. And the thing that gets to me is um, collapsing early seems to be um, like letting go, especially for people who are at the top, or who have some income, middle class, I guess. We People on the top especially have a lot farther to fall, because once things start really getting tough, and you've said this before, they have so much that they have farther to fall. And when they get to that state, um, you mentioned the psychopaths will do everything they can to keep that, because they don't want to lose all that they have gained. And um, it's gonna get pretty bad. But so there's one way of, the psychopath strategy of keeping everything they have, um, you know, as desperately as they want and as they can. And yeah, going south says, point in case US versus Russia. Yeah, as a nations, they're gonna do everything they can to keep their power. And who's gonna pay the prices? People at the bottom, the workers. And so that's their strategy. And I think the other strategy is just to let it go, first mentally, and then eventually physically it will happen. I mean, we'll see when the time comes, but there doesn't seem to be any other way. I mean, the people with the power have the resources, and you know they can do it. They're gonna do what they can. But for us, we what more can we do but kind of like let go, say, okay, what did you mention? It's just let go of everything, because one day it will it'll be gone, right? So, and he did mention, it still gets to me that the people who are pretty much set and ready, they're the ones at the bottom. They're the ones who are already kind of living in a collapse scenario, the people in the streets. And so it's, in a way, it's like, okay, are we able to embrace that? Because if we try to do everything we can to keep everything we have, we're choosing the psychopath scenario, and that's not a good picture, right? So it's it's the scenario that we're heading now, and yeah, it's good to think about, but at the same time, it's also it can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, one trend too is I mean, you might have talked to some preppers in the past, and of course the attitude there is the one that what our civilization is based on, which is in a way hoarding or setting aside, goods, material goods, ammunition and all that. So how does one stride the line, like get the balance of, okay, I have to be kind of savvy and save a little bit, but at the same time, um, avoid the trap of feeling like, oh, there will ever be a time or a point where I have enough and everything is, that kind of like the bunker hoarding mentality. Um, I think that's going to the extreme. So it's like straddling the line between being prudent and not hoarding. Um, so to me, that's another line that I'm trying to balance, because I think society is, especially Western society, the white collar people or even blue collar people, there's always that carrot of retiring, save this much, this percentage of your income, and then someday you too can retire and face the golden sunset of your years. But right now, I don't think, if we do believe that um, collapse is inevitable and it has started and it's coming, um, maybe we're just wasting our time laying up um, treasures for a future that's not coming. But at the same time, um, one doesn't want to be a spendthrift and just be wasteful too. So I like I said, that's one of my um, challenges. How to balance that? How to enjoy the remaining time without being so anxious that, oh, things are collapsing, there's inflation, there's energy shortage, the supply chain is failing, there could be nuclear war. So there's kind of a, a disconnect there that, um, like having one foot in each kind of scenario. I don't know, what do the others think?
Yeah, I think uh, lately I've been yeah straddling the line, keeping the balance. It's I see it as lately it's and you mentioned this a few times before. It's we play the role that we have now, right? So whoever whatever we are doing, whatever I guess our careers are, whatever we're doing now, it's only a like we're an actor in a play, and this is our role for the time being. The thing is with collapse, it kind of tells us, okay, this role isn't going to be here forever, right? You're not, the retirement myth is only a myth, but what you're doing now is not going to be sustainable. So play it as a role, play it to the best of your ability, but know that the role can change. Things are going to change, but play it. And yeah, I don't know how else to think about it, because That's one thing. If we take our roles too seriously, we think, oh no, I must be this. I must be like a computer programmer. I lived like this. I studied it. It's like taking the role too seriously, and you know, who's going to need programmers in collapse? You know, I mean, that's just something to, as an example. You know, even the role, whatever you're doing now as a career, is it useful for collapse? And maybe a way to think about it. Okay, we have our role now in civilization, but what role would you like to play in collapse? What's something that's is is that an interest? Is that something that does that make sense? I don't know. Like playing a role in collapse. What role do you want to play in collapse? But
Yeah, that's a
if
very
you're
good reminder about roles and the temporary nature of roles instead of labeling ourselves as this is who I am and this is what it's got to be. This is how my life should be. I don't know. I want to be a rock and roll singer during collapse. Haha, just kidding. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. The temporary nature of roles. It's a very good it's a very good reminder. That's in our desiderata, right? Like kind of just slip in and out of what you're doing, but never be attached to, you know, to one definition of yourself or a label.
yeah, I mean, I once I saw that and kind of read into it, I said, "Oh wow!" Because I feel like people have been stuck or feel stuck to their roles, and it happened since childhood, right? Since we were educated, we're taught, okay, you have to be this and play this role, and you're kind of stuck in whatever you are, and you can't be more, or you can be, but only within the realms of civilization. Whatever civilization allows is what you will be. But I think that's something that collapse, if we're able to kind of see it differently. Oh, you know, that turns everything upside down. It's the flippening, right? I mean, that's maybe Hugh was trying to kind of nudge something at us. Okay, everything's gonna flip and collapse. So yeah, why not embrace that and see it as something, as an adventure, something new, something that you know, we can't really, especially if we're living in you know, cities, we can't see now, but it'll eventually happen. And you know, collapse has already started in the poorest of the countries. We can only, you know, we see it from news and TV, and that's pretty much coming. So yeah.
I see Z just joined, so we're just we didn't have agenda topics that were suggested, so we're just kind of talking about survival.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, sorry, I'm like,
No worries. So what are other people doing in their day-to-day lives that relate to survival, whatever your definition of survival is? If you want to share, that'll be great. If not, that's fine too. Going South said he's working on connecting to nature, his connecting to nature project. That's very important, especially those of us in cities. If there's a day that I don't go out, I feel like, I feel a sense of almost depression setting in. And it's really hard because I live in the Midwest and winter takes a long time. I shouldn't complain. Going south probably has a longer winter, but Um, it's really hard to go out on very cold days, but even just a few minutes out in the sun waiting for the bus makes a difference. But now it's springtime. Spring is coming, so it's kind of weird to know that collapse is happening, war is imminent, or war's happening, but it's so beautiful outside. The birds and leaves are starting to come out. Buds are coming out. So the sun's out. So there's still beauty in nature.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's still, the sun's still coming up. The Earth hasn't flipped yet, right? But I
Not
think
yet.
so. Yeah, it's good to just take the time to enjoy that and enjoy what's nature, what's still out there, and hopefully as time goes on, it's just some, can still keep some semblance of nature. But in terms of survival, yeah, just mental, just on that mental fortitude part, and just getting to realize, okay, what's happening now is it's temporary. Things will always change, and just following that kind of guess saying that things will change, so don't get too comfortable where you are. You mentioned like the myth of the shark. The shark has to keep moving to survive, and so I always try to keep that in my mind, that some sense of movement is kind of where I'm playing, or kind of that's something that's on my mind constantly. So if I feel stuck at somewhere, I would say, okay, what 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 can I do to, you know to, how can I how can I how where can I put motion in play? So as an example, I guess a simple example would be like, if a person feels stuck in a job, what can you do? Maybe apply for other jobs, apply for jobs outside the city that I'm in. That's something that I am considering. Um, but yeah, it's just little things like that. Knowing that your job, right? Like my job isn't gonna be here forever, so maybe think of ways to uh, like move, like what change, move cities. So that's something, as a prepare. I was like, I see it as a preparation for collapse. Like, if can't collapse total 100% now because of the constraints, what can we control? So we can control those little things, perhaps, but the main thing is, okay, things aren't going to be the same, so what can change? Other than that, yeah, and just coming to listening to you guys, listening to things that can help with collapse when it happens. So just being keeping my ears open, and my ears and eyes open to these things. Yeah.
How are people doing? We're all primates, and how are people doing with connecting? That's a good word. Connecting with other other people. I remember Hugh said the importance of finding good mates, good friends, people you can count on. Choosing basically choosing your friends. For me, that's another hard part because work occupies a lot of my time. And with the pandemic, people, of course, were isolating. But now that society seems to be opening up again, it's encouraging, and I do I do sometimes think that in that manner I am not as developed as far as connecting to other people. Um, I'm an immigrant here, but I've been here so long, so it's no excuse that um, you know um, not to make deeper connections. But I just find that work takes up a lot of time. So, but I do want to make an effort to connect more to friends.
One of the things that I've done in the last couple of years, I'm one of these guys who still sort of has a regular life, and I'm sort of a closet doomer. And but one of the things that I changed is I took a job where, you know, initially you have to work hard and smile and do extra things, but I've been there long enough that I've been able to sort of carve out this niche where I can do basically the bare minimal amount of work and still keep my job. And you know, the risk is that I won't have career advancement in this job, but I don't believe there's really any advancement to be had. But one of the plus sides is that it gives me enough time and certainly enough energy that I can devote to sort of other more important things. So, you know, one recommendation I can have for people who are still working and still, you know, because they need to or they just want to stay in the sort of in the American dream is to really try and find a job where you can become one of these sort of bare minimal producers. In terms of your mental health, I think it goes a long way because you just never you're psychologically you just have never bought into the fact that the job matters, and so you just don't work as hard or as long, and that's useful.
Yeah, thanks for that insight. I I did tend to take my job too seriously, but now it's losing its luster, especially when I see the decisions that are made. The organization does not particularly have good management, so the legacy of poor managerial poor management decisions are haunting us anyway, and that is why we need to work extra hard. I remember Lord Hugh saying that organizations survive because people tend to correct the mistakes of others or the mistakes of the management or people who are higher up in the hierarchy. So yeah.
There's
Anyway,
a
thank you for that insight, Zoo.
there's a very interesting uh, web page. It was a blog post that turned into several blog posts. It might even be a book, but it's called the Gervais Principle. Gervais is from The Office, and it's it basically describes corporate America, probably most corporations in Western civilization, of consisting of three tiers of employees. So it's kind of a pyramid. It's also a kind of a pyramid scheme. But at the top level, you have the sociopaths. And in the middle, you have what are called the clueless. And these are kind of like the people who are working really hard on behalf of their careers and for the company. And then at the bottom you have the what are called the losers, but don't think of it in the derogatory sense of loser. These are just the people who effectively recognize the whole thing as a pyramid scheme, and they don't invest in any way beyond the bare minimum to sort of persist and get a paycheck because at least when this model is presented, everyone needs to have some income. But it definitely is it's funny and entertaining, but it also has some good prescriptions for how to persist if you're stuck in a corporate world. And you certainly don't want to be one of the middle tier clueless, because you end up being loyal to something that's never loyal to you and working harder for something that you will never inherit. You're never going to become the CEO of your company. You're just going to be promised promises, and you'll continue to work your weekends and your evenings, and none of that will come to fruition. Um, so unless you're willing to be a sociopath or a shark at the top, the only thing left is to be in this loser or bare minimal producing class at the bottom. And uh, this is just a strategy that helps to persist and bridge the gaps while you have time and energy to do other things. Anyways, that's the Gervais principle. It's entertaining.
It
I
is.
was
And oh, go ahead.
oh, thanks. I was thinking about what you said earlier, about the thing about noticing spring arriving while there is a war and while we are already in collapse. And I think that's it's interesting and inspiring in the way that um, we are sort of living in our heads in a global world, but we are also in a local setting where the war is far away and the really real horror of the collapse is also far away and will be far away and far off in time. For most for most of the time for most of us. Um, and I'm thinking, to get away from this Hollywood image of the collapse with huge explosions everywhere and everything happening at once all over the world, and to a more realistic picture, then it's kind of going to look like this right now, with the last remains of the snow still hanging around in April and the birds birds going on and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that the longer we go into collapse, the more local everything will be, and we won't. The good thing about it is that we won't notice or hear about most of the horrors going on other continents and everything, right? So back to the mental thing, having mental fortitude and being mentally prepared and having allowed yourself to collapse mentally already, or however you say that, is hugely important, I think. And many of these things are not going to be pretty. But the good thing, as I said, the good thing is that we won't be front row audience for most of the things that will go down, because we will only see our local part of the earth, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. lots of people are suffering, and we are far away from them. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I was thinking about when we get that far that the internet and electricity goes away. That's what I was thinking about. Then we won't be
Oh, I see what
continually
you're saying.
informed about everything that's going on down. It's going to be something that we feel is going on, but we won't see anything else than our little local context, which is the part of the planet you can see from where we are, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like the world will be smaller again because if international communication, um, gets down, or we lose the internet, or then what will probably happen is, I don't know, is at some point maybe the news will be so controlled, so very centralized, and then we will never know what's true and what's not true.
Yeah, I'd say at that point, when we get to that point, um, said it's important to have that local community, right? The people that you trust is the people and the comrades that you make. They're the ones that will be our support systems within our locality. So when I guess the grid energy electricity goes, then we go local, find our mates, and we rely. Um, we look to them for support, news, and yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought.
I wanted to most of us won't even know what to do with ourselves. Sometimes I feel that. um I wanted to comment on what Zoo had shared with us about being in the clueless middle portion of an organization. And I think there's also a part of giving up the ego picture of oneself. Oh, I'm a good worker and I'm loyal to the organization, and I'm a hard worker, and the other people are just slacking. But maybe those the people who are that are the wiser ones, because as you said, um, it's useless to give loyalty to something that will never be loyal back in return. Plus, if you question the values of the organization, what are they trying to promote? Um, Especially, if you're working in industries um, that really are not essential, or probably contribute to waste, or just building desires for material things that just for consumption, discretionary consumer products. So yeah, I think that a part of me is also still stuck at the clueless stage because of my identifying with my ego that, oh yeah, I'm a good worker, I'm not a slacker. So but yeah, I am clueless. I am part of the clueless group until now. Thank you for um, rescuing me from being clueless.
I think everyone is clueless for some point in time. And eventually, well, not even everybody figures it out. But it's been a psychological godsend to kind of recognize that.
Have people are people doing some sort of meditation like along the lines that Hugh shared with us? I have fallen off and I have not really been doing that. Um, but I haven't totally taken it off uh, as a valuable step to do. I was just commenting to the group before we got recorded that I've been revisiting and viewing old videos of these meetings that have happened in the past year and a half, and I I am kind of embarrassed with myself as to how little progress I seem to have made because I'm still um, stuck at the same issues. But um, I feel like the meetings that we're having, it's like this one room schoolhouse in the pioneer days. Some people are just more advanced or, at the higher grade. So I haven't totally given up that I will get to that point.
Yeah, in terms of meditation, I look at the the forms or the just things that you mentioned, and I spoke with him one time, and I asked him, or I just said that with all the responsibilities as a householder and things that we have to do on a daily basis, how does one find the time to meditate? And his response really got to me. He said, "It's fine, uh, you'll with all the responsibilities that we have and the things that we do, there will always be kind of a time for meditation. The timing is in the moment, in essence. So, as for example, like you mentioned having kids, the kids are always noisy. And one thing we shouldn't do is say, okay, kids, um, it's daddy's meditation time, so be quiet. No, he mentioned there will be a time when the kids will rest or they'll quiet down, even take a nap. And then that will be the time to meditate. And so it taught me, okay, with all the busyness and all the things going on in life, it seems like the timing is, there will always be the right timing will come, kind of like when there's a storm, there will be a calm in the storm, a break in in a song. So I kind of look to that as a guide, as for meditation. Yeah.
So it's kind of taking advantage too of the opportunities provided by Kairos, because you know how for people who have been reading about meditation, it always seems that it's also emphasized um, that one needs to have a practice every day at a specific time every day. So it's very authoritarian in a way too. It's very much about chronos. But Mike, what you're sharing with us is that just do it when you can. Do it, and there's no need to be um, on the clock that, oh, it's 5 in the morning, I need to wake up early to meditate. Because I think that's what one of my stumbling blocks is, that, oh, okay, I missed that time. I can't do that anymore. But if one can find just the time during the day, whenever there's a spot of time, then that's um that's a time to do it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And even if we were to schedule the meditation, that might be okay, right? Because we set a certain time, but this is just something it's come to my mind. If we try to keep, let's say, 5 a.m., I know that won't be there forever, right? Something might come up, something of the Kairos nature might come up, an emergency might happen at 5 a.m. So it maybe helps us realize, okay, this isn't going to be there. I mean, I can't keep this up. I can't keep on doing this 5 a.m. meditation. So yeah, I don't know. It's just something to think about, that we can set the time, maybe 5 a.m. Like how we're setting our meetings. No, that's good. But more importantly, the timing is in the moment too. So kind of keep a balance. So I'm trying to see, what works for you. What works.
Yeah, what works for, we know ourselves, and if we're the type of person who's very disciplined, then that's good. So, and it kind of takes us back to another desiderata um, item, where it's like finding a line between order and chaos, so that, I mean, we could say, okay, I'm going to meditate at 5 a.m., but if it doesn't happen, then I don't need to think that, oh, the day is ruined, I can't do that now. Kind of like the perfectionist thing of, if it can't be this way, or some kind of OCD, some kind of compulsion um, to do certain things at a certain time. It's good to have that time set aside, but if it doesn't happen, one can still proceed and do it later in the day. Or if 5 a.m. is too early, then one can adjust and say maybe 8 a.m. is better. So there's that flexibility.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it and think about it. Yeah.
These are probably so elementary to a lot of the our you know on this call, and other viewers. So I apologize, but I do tend to get stuck on certain things, where if don't I don't do it in my preconceived notion of how it should be done, then I just kind of give up. It's the same thing with practicing playing the guitar. Because I can't do it every day at this time for this long, well, I probably should not even take up the guitar. So yeah, I'm just trying to work out my own hang-ups with Chronos and Kairos.
Oh, I think that's good what you're mentioning, because I think even if some people feel they might be advanced, I think it's a good reminder, especially for me. Like, maybe yeah, because I tend to have the same thoughts too. That, oh, I can't continue on meditating because I can't do it at this time. But yeah, just finding the right, or there will be a time to meditate, and that will be the time to do it.
I really feel the absence of Lord Hugh, like on these topics that, you know, on this meeting, we're not really prepared, and we can't extemporaneously just think about things to um, to relate or to share. But uh, I repeat what he told us, that what happens during is more important than, I guess, any objective or goal that's achieved. Just the fact that we're striving to continue and remind ourselves um, of what we've been exposed to. I think that has value. But how do you feel? How long have we been going on? It's about an hour already.
Yeah, I think it's good. What does everyone feel? Anything else? Any questions you might have? I think the only thing I'll respond to that is, yeah, I mean, these meetings are we remind ourselves, because I see it as, we're living day to day as a householder with our responsibilities and things we have to do. Oh, for me, I get caught up sometimes that, oh, I'm still here, I'm still doing these things. And it's good to take a step back, and whether it's be through meditation or through a Sunday discussion about topics that are not really affecting us. Like, the collapse isn't really hitting us hard now, but to remind ourselves it's still there. You know, maintain the adaptability, mental fortitude, and what are kind of our ideas of it. So Zoo did a great job mentioning the Gervais principle and being a bare minimum producer. I mean, I wouldn't have. I mean, I knew about it, but sometimes I also need a reminder. Oh yeah, we're heading in a world where yeah, it's okay to be a bare minimum producer now. So yeah.
Yeah, there's this saying that I came across a couple decades ago, and I think it it goes along what Zoo shared with us. The saying is, "Make a living with your left foot." So I guess don't take it too seriously. So whatever, make a living with your left foot. It's kind of a funny saying. So you're doing other things with your hands and your right foot, and you're just making a living with your left foot. Well, Mike, um, thank you for being here and coordinating the meeting and recording us.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you all for coming and contributing any what you can. And yeah, I think the meetings now post Hue, they've they're it's definitely a different feel, different atmosphere, but I think that's okay, right? That's part of adapting, and so now we're kind of running the meetings now, and I think people are still watching them. So I hope we can continue this, and yeah. If there's no other questions, or thoughts, anybody? All right, so I'll go ahead and oh yeah, I forgot we can end. So let's fall still. Take a moment of silence to. Oh yes, and I'll upload this to the channel. So yeah, so let's take a moment. Everything that we learned, everything that we gained, let it go. Give it up to, I guess, the universe, and Om Paramatmane Nama Iti. All right, thanks everybody. I'll end the recording.